Welcome back, tribe. Have one here from Wisdom Warriors. Says the problem with society today, most men don't own anything, so they don't give a F. I think it's a fact.
Okay, team. Today I want to talk about why men are going their own way. Why a lot of men are abandoning their families or abandoning trying to date or relationships. Why community is failing and patriotism or shared social bonds are getting destroyed. It comes down to ownership. Now, I might be canceled for this video, but hear me out. If a man doesn't feel ownership in the land, in his family, in his tribe or village, he will not be inspired to accept responsibility for that thing. For instance, if I was starting a business and I wanted someone to be an A player for me, someone to be high up in the business, to be a great leader, to really help the business flourish, what would I do? I would give them a ownership role. I would give them a share of the company, right? It's the same thing in society. If you want participants, really good citizens, if you want men to overcome their lower nature and rise to truly masculine and beautiful men and leaders, you need to give them ownership, or else they're going to say fuck it. So the main impulse within most men is towards freedom. We don't want to be tied down to all of these obligations and responsibilities to our village, to the nation, to our job, to our family. Like, we just want to wander freely, right? A lot of men do. And society and cultures in the ancient world coped with this will towards freedom within men by offering them ownership, by offering them authority. And this ownership is what created citizens. And this is really important. This is what my last video is about. Bear with me if you're feeling triggered. Citizenship is when you own a long-term stake within a larger project, right? So let's say you're in a village, okay? And you own a piece of land in that village. And your kids are probably going to inherit that piece of land. And on top of that, you feel like you have great ownership of your family. You're more of the patriarch of your family. Therefore, how are you going to treat your family and how are you going to treat the land? A lot of modern people would be like, oh, he's going to abuse them and all these things. It's like, no, that's the exception to the rule. The main rule would be you would try to see that whole thing flourish. A father generally wants to see the best for their kids. A father who owns the land is going to pass it down generations, wants to see the best of that land, is probably going to build it up in some way. And on top of that, you are going to want the best for your community. You're going to go and participate in governance. You're going to try to be a good citizen to your neighbors. You're going to build community and build relationships because it's meaningful to you, because you have a long-term stake in the whole.
And this is why we were talking that the Western world is degenerating at the rate it has, because one of the things that we were citing is how people live in these high density apartments and they don't even know the neighbor next door. Like the guy right across from your doorway, you don't actually know who they are. There is no sense of community. There is no sense of this, like, we're all in it together. We have a stake in, our neighborhood, our city, our state. Forget the country, just, on the local level, there's no communal aspect to anything anymore. It's what I've been telling you guys. We have an adversarial nature now, the division in politics, this radicalization of ideas, both left and right. Racism's making a comeback. Everything's becoming race-based now or ideologically based. Like, I belong to this group. No, you're this group. No, I deserve this. No, we've been oppressed here more. Instead of us all being under the umbrella of we're just Americans trying to make it. This is all America with Americans living here. No, I'm oppressed for this reason. And no, my people here, this historically happened. And no, I need this. What are you doing, bro? All we have is each other. You're my neighbor. We have to build up our neighborhood, then our town, then the city, then the state. We have no other choice. Now people are so disconnected with this advent of technology, with comfort becoming so accessible to everybody. You can order Uber Eats. You can order on Amazon Fresh. Amazon in general, you can have everything delivered to your house within a couple hours or the next day. You don't have to leave your premises. People are becoming hermits, and there's no stake in society because we're not having kids. Nobody cares about the community because your legacy doesn't exist. It's just you. Who gives a shit? You have nothing to live for as a man. Some of the greatest purpose a man can derive from his family, his woman, and then his children. That's really all it takes to drive a man. There was an article I was reading that I think it was some corporate bullshit article saying like the best man to hire is a man in his 30s married with his first kid. Basically saying like that dude was going to slave away at the company because of all the pressure he has on himself to provide for his family. Because that guy has a stake in the future. He's got a woman he wants to support and a newborn. No one is going to outwork that guy because he has to show up every single day. Because when he gets home and he sees his baby laughing and giggling and his woman rocking his kid, that's all the purpose and motivation that guy will ever need to go in and do it day out and day in, over and over again. He will slave away at that job to provide for something that matters to him. But most people don't have that. Most people in the West do not have a home that they can come to with their family there. So of course, men will tell you, I have no purpose. I don't know what my place is in the world. I don't know what I should be doing. How could you possibly when you can't even own your own house? It's almost impossible to own a car. Everybody's living on, check to check, basically. Nobody's able to afford. Most Americans don't have $400 in their bank account. So if we don't have a stake in the future, where does society go? Well, you're looking at it. Men dressing up like women, women trying to dress up like men, people cutting off their body parts. Culture is degenerating, and I mean art in culture. Look at music, look at movies, look at cartoons, look at whatever we consider art, paintings, whatever. Everything looks like dog shit compared to Renaissance periods of the past. I mean, you got guys on Instagram, you see them with like those buckets of paint hanging from a string and then just letting the bucket, spin around and plop the paint all over the place. And they're like, yeah, this is $100,000. This is my incredible abstract art. Bro, it's garbage. It's fucking shit. And then you look at something like what's painted in those like old European monasteries or churches and shit. The artwork all over the ceilings. Man, it's crazy. Society, you can judge a society by their art, and look at the latest American art and you'll see where we're going.
Right? When you take away the man's role at the head of the family, or you take away the man's role in terms of private land ownership, right? You take away his sense of having a long-term stake in something. Therefore, his nurturing, he doesn't feel inspired to take responsibility for it because it has less meaning for him, okay?
Protective instinct, that's what it is. That's what we're trying to goad out of men. Men have no protective instinct over their community, over society as a whole, because they have no stake in the community or the society as a whole. That's what it is, man.
Now, I'm not trying to advocate for, maybe outdated and roles of masculinity. I'm just trying to paint a picture of human nature for people out there. Is that when people feel like they have ownership in something, they're going to take responsibility in that thing because it has meaning for them. And let's talk about this politically and geopolitically in terms of democracy versus monarchy. Man, we're going heretical in this video, aren't we? Drop a like if you like this kind of content. So, the Middle Ages saw a lot of monarchies, kingdoms, and aristocracies, right? And there's been a massive wave of propaganda in the past 100 years from liberal democracy saying that the Middle Ages were all dark and kings were these conniving, greedy, fat fools who were just in it for themselves. And this is not true. You can go see Thinking West, a YouTuber's video on this. But the monarchies of the past, in general, tended to be okay, if not good. There was bad kings and bad ones, just like there's bad men, okay? But in that, the patriarch, the monarch, the king, he feels ownership for his entire kingdom, meaning that he is thinking generations ahead because he wants his kingdom to thrive. He's not going to overtax the peasants because he wants them to be more productive, to have better lives, so they multiply and increase the will to power of the entire kingdom. You see, the main instinct of life is to increase the feeling of power in life. And this is a very Nietzschean philosophy. And the feeling of power has nothing to do with control. It has everything to do with vitality, an increased feeling of life and expansiveness here on earth, a mastery of open space. And so the king is going to be thinking, a good king is thinking generations ahead. He's trying to, how can my people, be more productive and live happier lives so they multiply and increase the power of the nation, right? And he's thinking this way because he wants to pass down this kingdom to his children, who he also feels to be a part of himself, right? Therefore, he has all of this meaning to lead well, to lead his family well, to lead his tribe well, to lead his kingdom well. Contrast that with a president. A president is in office for 4 to 8 years, and it's a popularity vote to get him in there. And therefore, he's not thinking generations ahead. He's thinking, how can I gain popularity in the next 4 years so that people will reelect me, right? What's he going to do? He's going to drive the nation like a rental and make decisions that might be good in the short term, but are detrimental in the long term.
And this is what people don't fucking want to understand about Team Red and Blue. It's painful, man. It hurts to understand that it's a charade and your vote actually doesn't matter. That the same people that fund Trump are the same people that are funding Kamala. Red or blue, they take money from the same corporations. It's the corporations that are subverting your rights as a citizen. It's the corporations that pay for the campaign funds that get these people elected. You think your popularity contest matters. This is why they do the soundbite thing, so that all the brainless normies go, oh my God, he owned her. Oh my God, she owned him. And make little reels from it. I get millions of views with people literally arguing in the comment section while life is getting worse for them year in and year out. If you look at quality of life in the United States over a span of, say, 50 years, it has consistently gone down, whether Team Red or Team Blue was leading it. It's a shit show. If you look at the United States in the next 50 years, quality of life is most likely going to continue. The trend is your friend. That's what they say in trading. The trend is your friend. Follow the trend. Don't try to bet against it. The United States has been on a decline and it will continue the decline no matter who you vote. The only way is if the political system has a major upheaval, which means a third party rising that's truly populist by the citizens for the citizens that don't take money from corporations or special interests. But we're not ready for that conversation. One side thinks Trump's going to save them and make America great again. Cool soundbite, bro. Bet you it won't. I'll bet you $1 million fucking dollars. Your life will be worse 10 years from now if Trump were to win than if Kamala won, or vice versa. I can guarantee you it'll get harder in the next 10 years in America, no matter what side wins. Why? Because they legislate for corporations, because that's who bought the influence. That's who paid for the campaigns. It's very simple. If you actually track your rights as a citizen, your quality of life as a citizen, versus that of a corporation's rights, ease of doing business, profit margins, advantageous tax legislation and loopholes, whatever, and you mark those on a graph, it's incredibly beautiful to be a corporation in America today. It's never been better.
It's kind of like if you rent a property versus you own the property. If you own the property, you're going to cultivate the land. You're going to cultivate relationships. You're going to help it blossom, and you're going to think really far into the future, generations ahead. If you rent the land, you're not going to give a fuck. Okay? You're not going to give a shit about making it better. Oh, I'm only going to be here for 4 years. I'm going to drive it like a rental. I'm going to abuse this. I'm going to pump money into the economy. I'm going to exploit the land as much as possible to, gain prestige for myself and maybe short-term gain for the whole, but to the long-term detriment. It's kind of like using pesticides on the soil. It's going to destroy the soil health for short-term gain, right? And so it's really important, I think, for like revolutionary men and for more traditional men who are going their own way out here, is to think about the concept of ownership outside of political lines, outside of party lines. And that's the thing, is like, I'm not trying to subscribe to any dogma. I'm trying to think freely about how to create a flourishing humanity, right? So don't put me in any of your boxes out here. But what I am saying is that the more that man feels ownership in this life, ownership in his spiritual path, ownership of his family, ownership of his community, ownership of his life, the more responsibility he's going to take, the more empowered he's going to become as a man, and the better man he's going to become. Like, it's so contrary to how modern man looks at this concept. We're like, oh, power corrupts, right? It's bullshit. We need ownership in order to feel inspired to overcome ourselves, to live for something larger. And the more that feminism rises, like, put man in his place, and the more that the world makes it harder and harder to own land. And the more that the world alienates us from shared social bonds and feeling like we have a stake in the future of our village and our tribe and our nation, we're just going to go our own way. And like a lot of men are going to fall into their lowest nature, their most petty nature, because they don't have the meaning to overcome themselves for a larger project. And this is tragic. So it really comes down to ownership. A lot of people talk about this, and it sounds bad. The man should own his family. In a sense, he should. Like he should lead as a wise and loving father, take his wife's input and her wants and needs into account like any good leader would. This is a round table. But at the end of the day, you got to feel like you have authority, that you are the leader, right? That you have a say in your government, that you have a say in your family, that you have a stake in your community. A little passionate rant there out in the forest, huh?
Fucking dope. I agree with everything he's saying. It's exactly the reason why society is crumbling in the way it is. And by the way, Romania, for example, has some of the highest ownership rates of housing. Let me see. So check this out, guys. This is Romania's home ownership rate. It's at 95%. The only one beating us literally is only two countries. I'm telling you right now, and this is what it does for society. It's Laos and China. And it's by a few percentage points. But Romania has some of the highest in the world. And I can tell you right now, living here, when I tell you that it's a family forward society, it's extremely safe. There is a communal effect when you go out in public and you see people with their kids, with baby carriages, having picnics in the park. There's no homeless anywhere. Or at least homeless encampments. I'm sure there's a couple homeless guys here and there. Haven't seen them, maybe in other parts of the city where bad. But in general, in the parks, there are no homeless people. There's no people sleeping on benches. It's just families. Extended families, by the way. Not just the mother and father in like one baby. It's the mother, the father, the uncle and the aunts are there. The grandparents are there with 3, 4, 5, 6 kids from all of them. Community is what's missing. People here have a stake in the future. And so they work diligently. They're working hard for a better life for their children. It is very apparent just walking around here. And the videos I've done, I have videos here. I'll put them up at the end of this one that says, here's what Romania looks like. See for yourself. Look at the people. Look at what downtown looks like walking around on a weekend. It would be shocking for an American to watch that video. And that has a lot to do with this fact that people here aren't starving to death because they own their own property. They have money that isn't being drained for rent or a mortgage, where they can start a family, where they have planted roots, where they have stability. That changes the aspect of how society is run completely, how people treat their neighborhood. I don't know, man. I don't see it reversing in America anytime soon because, look, corporations are now buying most single-family homes. They moved into the market after COVID with the crazy low interest rates. They're paying cash. They're basically bullying families out of houses, swooping in on top of them and using cash 10, 15, 20% over market asking value, whatever that was, the asking price, just to turn around and rent it back to them for an exorbitant amount. It's insane what's happening. We have no rules and no legislation that's going to curb this. Look at this. Private equity firms have been making significant inroads into the residential property market, a trend that led some to some shocking statistics. According to the study by Business Insider, during the third quarter, these firms accounted for 44% of the purchases of single-family homes, guys. This is nuts, guys. 44% of all single-family home purchases were from private investors in 2023. Your neighborhood, half of it is private investors. It's not families. Talk about a housing crisis. Talk about a bubble. Talk about being priced out of a home. And then you want to start a family? Where? And then you want to have a legacy, a stake in society? To care about the future, the nation? This is crazy, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, because this kind of shit makes me angry. Appreciate everybody that's been buying shirts, dude. The mugs, it's been selling out like crazy, the Hoflation mugs. Everybody that's been joining the private community, if you haven't, check out some of the combos we have over on the second channel. Men coming together, trying to make a difference in their lives, escape this kind of degenerate shit. Links are all in the description below. Appreciate everybody that's been doing the private consults as well. It's been an honor talking with you guys. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.